May your mind be humbled before this mystery. May your heart grow hopeful by it. And may you be sustained by this love always. Now I invite you to rise in body or spirit and say the words to accompany lighting the chalice. May the light of truth illumine our minds. May the spark of love set our hearts on fire. May the flame of freedom burn brightly within us, now and always. Well, Jessica has the story for us.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all safe and cozy at home. Our story this morning is Frederick by Leo Lionni. And we didn't realize quite how appropriate it would be for this snowy morning. All along the meadow where the cows grazed and the horses ran, there was an old stone wall. In that wall, not far from the barn and the granary, a chatty family of field mice had their home. But the farmers had moved away, the barn was abandoned, and the granary stood empty. And since winter was not far off, the little mice began to gather corn and nuts, and wheat and straw. They all worked day and night. All except Frederick. Frederick, why don't you work? They asked. I do work, said Frederick. I gather sun rays for the cold, dark winter days. You see Frederick over on the side there? Well, there he is on top of a rock. And when they saw Frederick sitting there, staring at the meadow, they said, And now, Frederick? I gather colors, answered Frederick simply, for winter is gray. And once Frederick seemed half asleep. Are you dreaming, Frederick? They asked reproachfully. But Frederick said, Oh no, I'm gathering words, for the winter days are long and many, and we'll run out of things to say. The winter days came, and when the first snow fell, the 5 little field mice took to their hideout in the stones, just like we're all doing today. In the beginning, there was lots to eat, and the mice told stories of foolish foxes and silly cats. They were a happy family. But little by little, they had nibbled up most of the nuts and berries. The straw was gone, and the corn was only a memory. It was cold in the wall, and no one felt like chatting. Then they remembered what Frederick had said about sun rays and colors and words. What about your supplies, Frederick? They asked. Close your eyes, said Frederick as he climbed on a big stone. You're all welcome to join in, closing your eyes. Now, I send you the rays of the sun. Do you feel how their golden glow? And as Frederick spoke of the sun, the 4 little mice began to feel warmer. Was it Frederick's voice? Was it magic? And how about the colors, Frederick? They asked anxiously. Close your eyes again, Frederick said. And when he told them of the blue periwinkles, the red poppies and the yellow wheat, and the green leaves of the berry bush, they saw the colors as clearly as if they had been painted in their minds. And the words, Frederick cleared his throat, waited a moment, and then said, as if from a stage, he said, "Who scatters snowflakes? Who melts the ice? Who spoils the weather? Who makes it nice? Who grows the four-leaf clovers in June? Who dims the daylight? Who lights the moon? 4 little field mice who live in the sky. 4 little field mice like you and I. One is the spring mouse who turns on the showers. Then comes the summer who paints in the flowers. The fall mouse is next with walnuts and wheat. And winter is last with little cold feet. Aren't we lucky the seasons are 4? Think of a year with 1 less or 1 more." When Frederick finished, they all applauded. "Why, Frederick," they said, "you're a poet." Frederick blushed, took a bow, and said shyly, "I know it." It's our story.
Thank you, Jessica. And now we will sing the hymn Circle Round for Freedom. We have a recording of it, I think, and we'll see. The words are easy, so if the words aren't on the screen, I think we'll all catch on. And you can sing as
I'm
loud
sorry,
as you
Janet, I'm
want.
not ready for that, for the circle
Okay.
round.
Well, why don't we do the reading? That will give you enough time, Kathy. Or actually, why don't we do the greeting? Let's do the greeting. Does that work? Do we want to unmute? Ooh. Let's unmute and turn on your videos. And you can go to gallery view and we can see each other and say hello on this crazy morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi, everyone. So good to see you, or your names anyway. We haven't had to do it like this kind of on the fly in a long time, so we were reminiscing about the early days of this.
I have just allowed people to unmute themselves. We will do that for the greeting, and then afterwards I'll reselect the thing that asks everybody to stay muted.
Steve.
Yes.
Booker thinks we have it set so that videos are blocked.
That would, I mean, the first video played just fine.
I know.
No, the video, people can't turn their videos on is the problem.
Oh, people can't turn.
I think we can go around inviting you.
I can see all your wonderful names. Wow. More people keep coming. Hi, Julie. Dave, nice. David Damon, nice to see you again. Peggy, Fran, Margaret, Ann, Kenton, Guile.
Feel free to write in the chat since you can't turn on your video or speak. Thank you.
Mary, Jane, Sally Weiss, Patty, Emily, Amy, nice to see you. Susan and David, Austin Porter, nice to see you. Russ, Janet, Rick, Wendla, Melody, good to see you. Cheryl, Kim, not everybody lives right in this valley, I know. It's great to see you. Susie, Sandra, Kim, hi. Who else is here? Naomi, Sarah, Evelyn, Dana, great to see you. Katie, Rebecca, Laura, Booker, Laura, another Laura P. Runa and Runa, great to see you.
Anybody?
Oh yeah, they haven't been around.
Great to see you. Everyone can hear you if you're talking.
Oh, we finally can unmute.
Oh, okay. Say hello. Quick hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
For joining us now.
Wow, so fun.
Whoa, there we go.
Where's Dana? Dana, where are you?
Oh, yeah.
I'm around somewhere. I don't know.
Yay.
There we go.
Lori, Lori, good to
Hello,
see
everyone.
you.
Hi, everyone.
I know, this is so fun.
There we go.
All right, here we are.
Woohoo!
Hi, hi, hi.
Dana, 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 Dana.
We exist in multi-dimensions.
Snow day.
All right, Kath, are you ready for the song?
No.
Yeah.
Kathy?
Yes, we are ready.
Okay, let's try it. Circle round for freedom. Wonderful to see you all.
Okay, so we turn off the video. Let's turn off the video.
Yeah, unmute. Now you can mute everybody.
I'm gonna mute all, so anybody who's part of the service who needs to will need to unmute.
Okay.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us in prison, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children, keep the circle whole.
And Janet, you're muted.
The Yale professor of Hebrew Bible, James Collins, writes, "The biblical precept, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, has long been understood in Jewish and Christian circles as universal, a transcendent principle encompassing the whole Torah. The command to love one's neighbor as oneself is undoubtedly one of the great contributions of the Hebrew Bible to the ethical development of humanity." And the story of the Good Samaritan is one of the most frequently cited stories in the Christian Bible. Samaritans were actually Jewish. They were from the region between Judea in the south, where Jerusalem is, and Galilee in the north, where Jesus was from. And they were ancient rivals in the area of the Jews in the area around Jerusalem, and they were considered unworthy and even unclean. So the story is one Jesus tells in response to a man who wants to test Jesus' knowledge and authority. And it goes like this: "Behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tested him, saying, 'Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?' And he said to him, 'What is written in the law?' And the lawyer said, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." He said to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live." But the man asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" Jesus answered, "A certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among robbers, who both stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. By chance, a certain priest was going down that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. In the same way, a Levite also, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he was moved with compassion, came to him, bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. He set the man on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And on the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the host, and said, "Take care of him. Whatever you spend beyond that, I will repay you when I return." Now, which of those 3 do you think seemed to be a neighbor to him who fell among robbers? And the man said, "He who showed mercy on him." And Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." Now, Dave Reutman has a social justice minute for us.
Good morning. I'm Dave Reutman. This is the Social Justice Minute, which recognizes that as Unitarian Universalists, we are called powerfully to take action on social justice and the environment. Our 5th UU principle is that we affirm and promote the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. For many Americans throughout our history, that was out of reach. That began to change in the 20th century as the possibility of a multiracial and multicultural American society emerged. But that dream has never been truly realized, and today it's truly at risk, with forces that can realistically destroy our democracy gaining power every day. This could affect us in ways we can't even imagine. Our congregation began confronting this challenge in 2020. Since then, we've written thousands of postcards and letters, made hundreds of phone calls, and hosted house parties and benefit concerts for the Movement Voter Project. And that's what you all did. Most importantly, we've joined together in community to boost our collective spirits through trying times. Now we're turning again to meet the challenge. Only 44,000 votes separated the winner from the loser in the 2020 presidential election. So it's up to us and millions of kindred spirits to help turn out the votes needed to preserve democracy. In his final speech, John Lewis said, "Democracy is not a state of being, it's an act. And each generation must do its part to help build what we call the beloved community, a nation and world society at peace with itself." That's what we're talking about. So, following next week's service on January 14th, USNF The Vote will host the social hour followed by a lunch gathering downstairs. There we'll also share our worries and hopes for the upcoming election and the actions we'll be taking. You know how high the stakes are for this election. Please join us next week following the service, and we'll shape what we will do together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Ellen, do we have something to play for a offertory break? We'll see. This is a time in the service when we take an offering. If you are so moved, you are very welcome to visit uunorthampton.org and on the blue donate button, make a contribution for this week's offering. You can also mail in a check or just double up next week. I also want to mention that the Share the Plate, we share our offering collections every Sunday, 50-50. Half goes for the work of the society, and the other half goes to organizations in the greater community and beyond. And we've been supporting a number of organizations since September, and now beginning in mid-February, we will change that, and that we will select a new group of organizations. So everyone in the congregation is welcome to nominate an organization that you think would be helpful and important for us to support. And you can do that by submitting your suggestion with some details about the organization, maybe their website, to the email address council@uunorthampton.org. And now we'll listen to some music and enjoy it. And if you are so moved to go to our website and make an donation, that's lovely also.
I'm not finding Ellen online.
Oh no, we lost her. I wonder if she lost power.
We do have Immortal Love that we could play now if you prefer to give us some music that was scheduled for
Well,
later.
let's do it at the end, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah. We're doing the best we can, folks.
She had suggested an offering song that I can share if you'd like.
Okay, why don't you do that? I think that was a perfect snow falling song. Our meditation is called Our Jeopardy by someone named Thomas John Carlyle, who was a 20th century American poet, a Presbyterian minister, and an expert on Emily Dickinson. It is good to use best china, treasured dishes, or the oldest lace tablecloth. There is a risk, of course, every time we use anything, or when anyone shares an inmost mood or moment. But not to touch, not to handle, not to employ the available artifacts of being human. This is the quiet crash, the deadly catastrophe, where nothing is enjoyed or broken, or spoken, or spilled, or stained, or mended, where nothing is ever lived, loved, pored over, laughed over, wept over, lost, or found. Let's take a moment together in silence. And now we have two readings. This one is called Love First by Rebecca Ann Parker. She was the president of the Starr King School for the Ministry, which is a UU seminary in Berkeley, for 25 years, 1990 to 2014. Parker is a ordained United Methodist minister, and she's also dually fellowshipped with the Unitarian Universalist Association. And this is what she wrote. What we need is a revolution in our values, a revolution that turns our attention more reverently and responsibly to the interdependent relational character of life. What we need is a spiritual and practical revolution that embodies love for neighbor and for the world through sustaining structures of care and responsibility. Loving our neighbor implicates us in loving the whole network of life. In photographs of the Earth from space, we see we are one blue globe wreathed with clouds. We know that the crust of the Earth floats on a core of fire. Even the rocks are part of a complex flow of elements that fold down into that molten core and rise again. We dwell in our cities and towns on a living, breathing planet molded by transforming fire, flowing waters, the exhalation of trees, the inbreathing of animals. This interconnectedness of all things calls for wisdom and reverence. And we cannot trample this landscape as ignorant fools and expect to be safe. We cannot turn from our bonds and obligations for and with one another and expect to be okay. We cannot love after the fact and expect love to be able to save life. Maybe in the end, love will save us all, but it has a lot better chance at the beginning. We need to love from the start. And these are some excerpts from Howard Thurman that are some of the things that are collected in his book called A Strange Freedom. It is a strange freedom to be adrift in the world of humankind without a sense of anchor anywhere. Always there is a need for mooring, the need for the firm grip on something that is rooted and will not give. We cannot deny the urge to be accountable, to know that beyond each of us in ourselves, there is an answer that must be given. The deeds we perform must be weighed in a balance held by another's hand. And for better or for worse, I can never be what I ought to be until you are who you ought to be. Our hymn now is number 151. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. And I think somebody can play that. Jessica, great.
I wished I knew how it would feel to be free. I wished I could break all the chains holding me. And I wish I could say all the things that I could say. I say I'm loud, say I'm clear for the whole world to hear. I say I'm loud, say them clear for the whole world to hear. I wished I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that still keep us apart. And I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you'll see and agree that everyone should be free. Then you'll see and agree that everyone should be free.
That was a good one. What is love that frees? What is liberating love? Could it be a universal transcendent principle found not only in the Jewish and Christian religious traditions, but in many others as well, such as the Zulu Ubuntu, a word that means a person is a person through other persons, or Buddhist teachings and practice of loving kindness? The Unitarian Universalist Association will actively engage its members in the transformation of the world through liberating love. Those are words from the proposed revision to Article 2 of the association's bylaws, which will be voted on this June. And our congregation, the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence, is one of those members. The Black activist and scholar Bell Hooks wrote, "The moment we choose to love, we begin to move towards freedom, to act in ways that liberate ourselves and others." And I've been grappling with this and wondering about the various ways that that might be true. What really do love and freedom have to do with each other? And where they meet? I think I learned that freedom was about independence, breaking every chain, every man for himself, every boat on its own bottom, the lonesome cowboy, once on horseback and now jetting around in the galaxy. That's the message I grew up with. And it's part of the 19th century ethic of the frontier culture also, which was embraced equally by cowboys and New England intellectuals, like our own Ralph Waldo Emerson. I first learned about Emerson's friend, Henry David Thoreau, from my 5th grade teacher, Miss Waters. I'm guessing she must have read us a brief passage from the book about his stay at Walden Pond. Maybe the way it begins, I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and to see if I could not learn what it had to teach. Go off and live by yourself to find out what life has to teach. I don't remember if she read that or not, but what I do remember is being totally taken, feeling envious of Thoreau, dreaming about living in my own cabin in the woods, self-sufficient off by myself. And I think that was because my home life at that point was pretty unhappy. And I would have been free. I would have been very happy to be free of it. So what about the relationship between love and freedom? What about love? So in a superficial sweep of my memory banks through some songs of my formative years, love is associated with being tied down and obligated, which at least for the man in the heterosexual relationship is not what's wanted. You can think of these songs too. It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk that keeps my sleeping bag tied up on your porch. I want to be free like the warm September wind, babe. Say you'll always be my friend, babe. And then, of course, there's walk out the back, Jack. Make a new plan, Stan. Drop off the key, Lee. Set yourself free. Those are limited and limiting views of both love and freedom, ones I hope I've grown out of. Howard Thurman called it a strange freedom to be adrift in the world of humankind. He says we're not made to be adrift. Always, he says, there is the need of mooring, the need for a firm grip on something that's rooted and will not give. And he claims that we can't deny the urge to be accountable. We sense or know that beyond each of us in ourselves, there is an answer that must be given. Rebecca Parker said much the same from a different perspective, from an equally wide perspective. And she suggests the answer is love. I think Thurman would agree with that. Love that is not primarily about a relationship to a specific person, but love that is what Erich Fromm called an attitude, an orientation of character, which determines the relatedness of a person to the world as a whole. A feeling of being related to, celebrated, honoring the marvelous interdependent web of all existence and ourself in it. That kind of love is a way of being in the world that's related to gratitude and wonder, joy, and acceptance of each and every other as someone as precious and worthy as of love as our own children. It's a kind of love that allows a stranger to stop on a dangerous highway and go out of his way to help someone. It's a kind of love that asks for compassion and recognition of the other as fully human. It asks for a kind of openness. And it needs us also to know and love ourselves. Aisha Hauser is a UU religious educator, and she's part of the lead ministry team at the UU Church of the larger fellowship, which is a big online Unitarian Universalist community. Aisha gave a talk called The Greatest Love of All, borrowing her title from the song that Whitney Houston covered and made famous in the mid-1980s. And that song, The Greatest Love of All, was composed in 1976 for the Muhammad Ali biopic film, The Greatest. Its lyrics are by a woman named Linda Creed. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Well, Aisha points out that learning to love ourselves is not necessarily, in fact, all that easy to achieve for anyone. And it's especially not easy for people who have experienced trauma, were raised with personal negativity aimed directly at them, or with abuse, with negative images around them in society of their race, their gender, their sexual orientation, background, body type, more. She talks about various ways she learned over time to love herself in different ways at different stages in her life. And one of the things she offers that struck me is a twist on the great commandment to love one's neighbor as oneself. She says, treat yourself with compassion and empathy. She says, how often do you speak to yourself in disparaging or derogatory terms? Telling yourself you're disorganized or incompetent or worse. She says we should acknowledge our pain and our struggles and treat ourselves with the same compassion, empathy, and care that we would show to a neighbor or a friend. So I think that's worth thinking about and considering. If you can deeply love and know yourself with your gifts and your challenges and shortcomings, what could happen? What can happen? Can it, does it offer you freedom, a greater capacity for loving others? I think it can. I think it could. And I don't think it's a coincidence that many of the people who deeply understand and articulate a connection between love and freedom are those whom wider society has oppressed, those who have experienced entrenched and institutionalized hatred for being who they are. You might remember, many of you might remember a reflection that Kate Kruckmeyer gave back in October. And she told us that the emergent strategist and Afrofuturist Adrienne Maree Brown said, if the goal was to increase love rather than winning or dominating a constant opponent, I think we could actually imagine liberation from constant oppression. We would suddenly be seeing everything we do, everyone we meet, not through the tactical eyes of war, but through the eyes of love. We would see that there's no such thing as a blank canvas, an empty land, or a new idea, but everywhere there is complex, ancient, fertile ground full of potential. And I would add, everywhere there would be freedom to explore and develop that potential. Nelson Mandela said, to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. To be free is to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. And James Baldwin wrote this, the longer I live, the more deeply I learn that love is the work of mirroring and magnifying each other's light. Gentle work, steadfast work, life-saving work in those moments when life and shame and sorrow occlude our own light from our view. But there is still a clear-eyed, loving person to beam it back. In our best moments, we are that person for one another. Love is the work of mirroring and magnifying each other's light. It even shows up in that little group of field mice who accept the one who isn't like the rest of them and doesn't gather food supplies. They have some reservations, but they grant him the freedom to be who he is. And then they ask him later to share what he has gathered when they need it most. They let him know how much he is valued. And as Jessica said, we picked the story of Frederick for this morning because it's a cozy winter one, even though we didn't know we'd need quite as cozy a winter one as we do today. But James Baldwin provides the connection. Love is the work of mirroring and magnifying each other's light. So where do love and freedom meet? They meet in the places where we know ourselves and know how to love ourselves. They meet in the places where we recognize the stranger as our neighbor, and in those moments where we take the risk to truly love that neighbor as ourselves. They meet when, as Rebecca Parker wrote, we turn our attention more reverently and responsibly to the interdependent web, to the relational character of life, and where we see our freedom in the opportunities we're offered to enjoy our gifts and to use them for good. Our final hymn is Immortal Love, and we have a recording of that for us.
If you've stopped driving at night because of vision problems,
Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Stay safe. Enjoy the quiet. Go in hope, go in love, and go in peace.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. I'm shining all around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's shining. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light